All right, welcome back to another edition of The Chosen One, Volume 2. I am your host, Terrence Clayton. As part of our give back to the community, this show is dedicated to some movers and shakers in the Columbia, South Carolina area who are doing big things in their community. So it's my pleasure right now to introduce a gentleman that goes by the name of Perry Bradley, and he has a nonprofit organization, BBC, Building Better Communities. Mr. Bradley, how are you?
How are you doing? Awesome to be here.
Listen, man, should I address you as Mr. Bradley, Perry, or PB?
Look,
what's your name in these circles?
Look, Perry is fine. My frat buddies call me Peanut Butter. So, hey, leave it at Perry. We good.
Hey, so listen, before we end the show, we're gonna find out the history of peanut butter.
You know? Hey, it's real simple. Perry Bradley, PB.
So speaking of your frat brothers, so let's start it off before we get into the business. So what school did you attend?
Clemson University.
Okay, the Tigers.
The Tigers.
Okay. Do you get a chance to go back and with COVID kind of messed everything up, but do you get a chance to go back to your alma mater?
Oh man, all the time. It just this year messed things up, but man, I go back. Look, I can I'm gonna do this right here just to show you an idea of how much I go back.
Okay.
If you take my virtual screen off and just look at my background. So it's all Tigerville, baby.
Oh man, I see what you got going on. But anyway, man, so listen, I hear you're doing big things down in Columbia, South Carolina. I can see in your background, American History Told from the Black Experience. We actually spoke off camera, and you said it can be seen on Facebook, right? Every Thursday during Black History Month. And then
it can be seen on Facebook. It can be seen on our website, on YouTube. We have it everywhere.
So talk to me about building better communities. What exactly is your nonprofit about?
Man, we're empowering the community, brother. The funny way we started out, man, it just brothers wanting to do something in the community. They help each other out, and then it escalated. And just to tell a short story, my cousin Devin Taylor, we was at a family function in Sumter, South Carolina, and he left. Went down the road, and somebody said he got pulled over, and we thinking nothing of it, but then about an hour or two passed, and so we were like, okay, let's go down there and check on him. Man, he was shot and killed by a state trooper. He was unarmed. Yes, a traffic stop that went bad, and so right then and there we knew we had to do something more, and that birthed the rebirth of Building Better Communities. To be honest with you.
So wow, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, tragically, we hear these stories far too many times.
Yes.
For something as simple, and I don't want to go off the topic a little bit, but it kind of all correlates. What we witnessed on January 6th with the insurrection, and except for that one unfortunate young lady that she went a little too far, maybe in some people's opinions, and they had to exercise their right, Secret Service, to use lethal force. But it just amazes me, right, how you can have something as simple as a traffic stop turn into a tragic situation. But then you look at, and again, I'm not calling for violence, but you look at January 6th, and the officers use a little bit more restraint. So I just
do a lot more restraint.
Yeah.
What they did.
Man, can you imagine?
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like if BLM had did something like that, it would have been this would have been a nightmare. So the restraints they use is I can't say that I'm proud or not pleased with it, because I'll be honest, I would love for African Americans to get that same restraint when we do things. Right. A lot of us will still be here right now.
Yeah. We're building better communities. Talk about some of the are there workshops, programs? Like, how do you really get into the communities and truly make a difference?
Man, we talk about everything. Anything that's educational, that will empower our brothers and sisters, we talk about.
And I know you actually have American History Told from the Black Experience, as we just mentioned. So talk to me about that. Like, who are some of the guests that you have on, and what are some of the topics of discussion?
Well, our very first show, we had Dr. Lewis Lynn. He's a businessman. He was one of the first African Americans to graduate from Clemson University. he owns one of the largest construction companies in South Carolina, which is a big thing for an African American. And he had a very good show. He talks about not playing the race card, getting out there and doing the work and being accountable. And he talked about when you're African American, the things you do, you have to do. You have to be somewhat 3-4 times better than your white counterpart, and it's not fair. But it is what it is sometimes. So you got to look at, if you want to be successful, he talks about, the different things of how we can lead to success. And the biggest thing he says is not playing the race card. He said he got further in life by not playing the race card than he did by trying to, pretend to be, this militant, African American who thinks that, you own something. Because in life, I'll be honest with you, nobody owes you anything. You have to work your tail off to get it. Now, there are some things that are unfair. That's true. And I'm not saying you should accept injustice, but as long as you can control who you are and do what you're supposed to do, be the best you that you can be. And that'll speak for itself. Then we had Ovita Glover, who was actually the president of the NAACP Columbia branch.
Oh, nice.
And, she talked about her history, her upcomings. Her dad was a big time AME preacher in the state. So, she talked about a lot of things they did and how she went across the state doing things. It's also this next one we got coming up, Mayor Benjamin. He's also a frat brother of mine. He's a wonderful example of somebody in leadership that, he's actually, he graduated, went to USC. In 2010, was elected the first African American mayor. He was on President Barack Obama's administration, so he's been a big influence in the African American community here in South Carolina. He's doing a lot of things. He's the I think he was the co-president of the mayors across the United States. So he has some big titles.
Yeah, I mean, I think recently I was reading. He just, I think it was in 2020, he joined on the advisory board for the BGR, which is one of the biggest lobbying firms in Washington, D.C. So I mean, that's pretty huge. Also, I guess he began a part of his service career at University, was it Clemson or University of Columbia as a student body president?
USC.
Yeah, USC.
He went to the enemy. USC and Clemson, that's the in-state rival.
Oh man! Yeah, but I know that. So he's a 3-term mayor, correct?
Yes.
And I think he just recently, if I was reading correctly, he decided not to run for a 4th.
Yeah, he decided not to run for a 4th.
And he's a lawyer by trade.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, from my research and what I've seen, so bump stocks, right? The extended clip that makes certain clips and guns automatic. After the tragedy in Las Vegas, when the gentleman was holed up in the hotel and murdered all those innocent people at that concert, he was one of the first people in 2017 to ban the sales of them in Columbus, South Carolina. The bump stocks. So he's definitely doing big things.
Yeah, and that's another thing. He helped us. BBC organized the largest March for Our Lives march in South Carolina that year, and he actually was one of the ones who helped us, and he led the way. Yes, sir. We had over 5,000 kids that came out to support that event.
So he seems to be someone who's really leading in the community and leading by example. What's the old saying? Some people talk the talk, but they can't walk it.
They don't walk the walk.
Ask yourself, what would you do if you were 10 times bolder? If you answered anything other than what you're doing right now, then fear is reducing your destiny. Fear and intimidation are tactics that our common enemy uses. The courage to step out of the familiar is about recognizing those things that hold us back and learning to recognize things that stand in the way of your destiny. You have an assignment that is specific to you. Dennis Perkins' book, The Courage to Step Out of the Familiar, will help you realize that this assignment is from God to help others. So ask yourself, are you ready to step out of your comfort zone? Get your copy of The Courage to Step Out of the Familiar by Dennis Perkins today on Amazon.com or Zulon Press.
Stephen K. Benjamin. He's elected mayor in a record turnout election in April of 2010 of Columbia, South Carolina. Mayor Steve Benjamin has made his mission to create in Columbia the most talented, educated, and entrepreneurial city in America. President Barack Obama's administration commended Mayor Benjamin on his work on behalf of My Brother's Keeper, MBK. The city's MBK effects, in addition to Mayor Benjamin's leadership, have led Columbia to being seen as the nationwide leader in implementing and upholding the missions of the program. Mayor Benjamin was asked to speak in the 2016 Democratic National Convention, where he talked about the importance of instilling in his daughters that they can do anything they set their minds to, even becoming president of the United States. And I'll be honest, Kamala is showing them the way. In addition to serving as mayor of Columbia, Mayor Benjamin also serves as the 2018-2019 president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and as chairman for Municipal Bonds for American members of the Federal Communications Commission's Intergovernmental Advisory Committee. He's a member of the Accelerator for America Advisory Council and co-chair of the Mayors for 100% Clean Energy campaign. So without further ado, I'd like to mention, guys, right now we have a great man, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin. How you doing, Mayor?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I was all psyched up about this show. I was telling him, I said, man, normally I let Donovan do the intro. He's not even here right now. So I said, I want to do this intro. I mean, we go way back, way back. I remember when I was bringing up some pictures. I remember when I first started, when BBC was starting out, and I told you I wanted to do that community culture project. And we met downtown Columbia, and your inspiration, I mean, it's been a blessing, and we haven't turned back yet. So if you want to go ahead and get started.
No, man, we've been on a journey. I tell folks back when we started, I had no gray hair. You actually had hair. I'm just joking. I had gray hair. You still didn't have any hair. I'm not sure. Is it legal to have 3 noops on the call at one time? Is that a lie?
Well, you know, the ladies might have a problem with it, but we good.
Okay. You think we're gonna be all right, Shemaine? I think we're gonna be all right.
We should be fine. I think we're in good shape.
No, it's a pleasure to be with you. We were talking. Perry asked me if I could speak for about a half hour. I'm not sure if I can go for a half hour, y'all. I'll share some thoughts and maybe a little bit about my story, because the reality is, and I try to tell everyone, particularly young people, when I'm speaking to young people, is that we walk up on folks, and some people might be having their very worst day, and some may be having their very best day, but we come upon each other, and we really don't know each other's stories, and we make assumptions about folks, and it's amazing when you take the time. It's a lot more difficult, obviously, in the age we're living right now, because you can't always sit down and break bread with everybody at any time. But when you sit down, you actually do what my grandmother might say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. It's amazing what you can learn from people. It's amazing what you can learn from folks and about folks. And the reality is that, my commitment, and I'd suggest to you just one piece of advice, our collective commitment should be to be lifelong learners, to always realize that when you're too old to learn something, you might as well give up the game. That you can always learn something from someone. That means that person is 77 years old or 7 years old, and it's amazing. The wisdom, and y'all know, I mean, from a barbershop to a shoe shine stand, to someone who's been working in the restaurant and observing people for 45, 50 years, washing dishes and busting plates. It's amazing what you can learn just by sometimes just listening to people. And thank you just for an opportunity to tell my story. The power of experience, to those of you maybe a lot younger than me, is that experience is the very best teacher in the world. It's also the most painful teacher in the world. You got to go through something to get somewhere. So if you're willing to listen and pay attention to folks who might have a little bit more gray hair than you, and learn from their experiences and leverage their experiences, it's amazing how much it can accelerate you on life. But I remain confident that these young folks, using their God-given talents, leveraging their experience that we need to continue to pour into them, that they're going to save the world, y'all. They're going to save us from ourselves. Whether it's building a more thoughtful, compassionate world that forces people to work together towards real solutions, a more equitable world, whether it's a focus on green and renewable energy that saves us from destroying our environment, whether it's a focus on creating a more peaceful world that saves us from the potential and possibility of nuclear war. I ain't gonna lie to you, I almost, there's not a whole lot of things that keep me up at night, but the thought of the former president of the nuclear football kept me up at night, y'all. It just did. I am convinced that these young people channeling the strengths, experiences, the souls of our ancestors will put us on track to a much better world. Some of you may know 2 weeks ago, I announced I'm not running for a fourth term as mayor of Columbia. I expected to serve 2 terms. I've been mayor for almost 3 at the end of this year, and I will tell you, it has been the professional joy of my life to be able to serve and give back to the city that's given you everything and giving you so much. Gave me a beautiful wife and a loving family. It has nurtured us in so many different ways. To have a chance to pour yourself into a job like this for what will be 11 and a half years is an amazing blessing. I'm thankful for it. But though I'll be stepping off the stage as mayor at the end of this year, I won't be stepping off the stage. I was involved as a citizen, actively involved in a bunch of things before I became mayor, and I'm going to be actively involved when I left mayor. I think when I leave office on December 31st, 2021, I don't think Perry's going to stop calling me because there's a lot of good to do. There's a lot of good to do, and I will tell you that the work that I've been able to do working with BBC under Perry's leadership, focusing on creating safer communities and more resilient communities, on that connection. I've often talked to Perry about the power that I believe that he has, because he has such credibility in so many different communities. Folks who normally would never talk to each other are dialoguing because of Perry's role as an ambassador, and by extension, all the leaders of BBC. And it's allowed us to get some creative partnerships done. But I believe that those partnerships are even the tip of the iceberg. And it's going to require us to continue to have public sector, but also public, private sector and philanthropic efforts just working together to continue to make sure that the real promise of this country that's been denied to too many people for too long is real for all of us. So that's Steve Benjamin's journey. I've been blessed beyond measure, and I know it. And I'm a lifelong learner. So I'll ask y'all to give me the leeway to be imperfect and to make mistakes at times. I believe we can all continue to grow together and do some amazing things together. So thank you, brother. Thank you for the platform.
Hey, what's up? It's your man Terrence. Take it from me. Looking for a new car is not always the most pleasant experience. But down at Trinity Car Sales, it's a place where buying a car is a ministry and not a hustle. They take pride in selling good vehicles at affordable prices. And I tell you what, if they don't have the vehicle you need, then they will get the vehicle that you want. And check this out. Also, they're giving away a free trip with every vehicle purchase over $3,000. So go on down to Trinity Car Sales, tell them Terrence sent you. And I guarantee you, if they don't have the car that you want, they'll get you the car that you need.
Never been. Lord, we lift you. All we gotta do is trust you. You have all power. I ain't never been. Lord, we lift you. Oh, we have all power. Good. See, I'm high off life. You can do anything just to walk by sight. I'm in this word, trying to get my mind right. Told the world swerve, I don't really have an appetite. Yeah, that's right. I'ma die once, but I was born twice.
Hi, I'm Javaka Melvin, and I want to give a testimonial about Sabriti Butter. I started using Sabriti about a year ago. I was suffering with the liver disease, and my back was broken out really, really bad. I tried Mederma, that didn't help. Some other, just over-the-counter products, it didn't help. I had bruises all over back, chest, and everything. And I started using Sabriti Butter. My daughter used the elixir, but I just kind of stuck to the butter, put on my arms and everything. And I was asking the doctor, what can we do to get these marks off of me, because they were very dark and it was really coming from the medicines that I was on. Within 6 to 7 months, I started seeing a difference and my skin started clearing up. So I would definitely suggest Sabriti Butter if you have like a immune system disorder or any other, skin disorder that you can't get rid of, that the regular over-the products doesn't help, because I can't take everything or put everything on my skin, and since it's all natural, it helped me heal and my skin looks much, much better. So I definitely recommend Sabriti Butter. Thank you, Sabriti.
Welcome back to The Chosen One Volume 2. I am your host, Terrence Clayton. So listen, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to shake it up a little bit on this particular episode. We're interviewing leaders and mentors in the community who are doing big things to kind of guide our youth in the right direction. And right now, it is my pleasure to introduce a very, 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 very special guest. Goes by the name of Ebony Ram. Ebony, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Can't call it. Doing pretty well with COVID going on. It's all about hashtag stay safe, and hashtag mask up, So other than that, I can't call it. So, what? So let's dive right into it, because you have a lot going on, and I think your story is something that is going to be, very positive for our viewers, just to kind of hear your journey. So let's get right into it. So I know right now so let's start off with the surface. You're a jazz singer.
Yes.
Okay. And so the name of is it the Ebony Ram Quartet?
Well, yes. That particular performance was with my quartet, right?
Okay.
Who changes out all the time,
Yeah.
Our musicians flow, yeah.
You jazz singers, you guys bounce around.
We're like, who's going to fit this song? Who's going to fit,
Exactly. So how long have you been singing?
Want to know the truth? I remember taking my mother's paper towel rolls and making my little microphone with the aluminum foil and taking my dad's fishing tape and standing on the steps when I was a little girl. So I'm going to have to say maybe 6, 7, but I was the girl that they would call to sing at a wedding or, something at a reception. And then I just started writing in middle school and putting it all together, So I've been singing for as long as I can remember. But professionally, I was saying since the 98, 99, something like that.
Okay. So, I know you're involved with a bunch of different programs. I know there's the Cola Jazz, and I know you guys live stream jazz music. So how did you talk to me a little bit more about Cola and how you linked up with them?
Wow, Cola Jazz Foundation was started by Mr. Mark Rapp. He's the founder and the executive director of the program. I went to him in October of 2018, and I wanted I noticed there wasn't a presence there for youth going into the schools and things like that. So, and that's what I used to do with the poetry. So I said, this would be great. So I took all my children's books that were jazz influenced and went to him and met with him. And he gave me a shot on stage singing. Excuse me. So when he heard what I did with the spoken jazz, he was very excited. So it's like, he was like, let's try this. He called me about 4 months later into 2019. And we went in and we did a workshop. And next thing you know, Jazz at Lincoln Center called us and we did some workshops with the children here in Columbia, the after school program, Boys and Girls Club. And then we started doing other schools and we did some things at the Koger Center where we had I think it was nearly 3,000 students come out.
Wow.
They brought the kids out. Yeah, the teachers did. And then we not only would go into classrooms, but we would also go. My forte is teaching, going in with kids with special needs.
Okay.
And I love it when they grasp hold of that sound and it just gets to move in them. And oh my God. So a lot of times they may not be able to write or anything. So I bring in art crafts so they can just just create what they feel. Yeah, because music is life.
It really is. I just had a conversation earlier, and it's like, music. If you just took, music and if music was a race, I think that there would be no racism. Because
yes,
because it's like you have all different racial. Whether you're white, listen to hip hop, or you're African American, listening to rock music. I think it really crosses all racial boundaries, and I think it makes people smile. I mean, you have football players, they listen to their favorite songs, get ready for the game. Actors, when they're on the set, I know a few, and they listen to whatever. It just puts us in a state of mind, and
right.
Whether it's to get us excited, if you want to just kind of mellow out. And you know what? You want to go ahead and introduce the video that everyone's about to see right now?
Which one you want to see? What a Wonderful World? Summertime. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the quintet of Ebony Ram for this particular evening, and we want to bring to you our version of Summertime with a little spice of spoken jazz.
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your ma is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing, and you'll spread your wings and take to the sky. But till that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you, with your daddy and mommy standing by. A new day begins as the sun sits atop the mountains, casting shadows over the valley below. Healing crystals, shades of green and blue, glide endlessly, weaving their way through time. Many come to these waters, cleansing, feeding, and resting their bodies, finding their souls stirred by the waters, releasing the essence of nature, life. Our experiences, both mountain highs and valley lows, house waters which ebb and flow as current in our lives. But agitation loosens sedimentation, thus exposing the gem inside. Yeah, that's summertime, baby. One more time, guys. Summertime. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Hush, little baby, don't you Thank you. Man. Y'all got me in. Doing that two-step, put a little four-step.
Yeah, I want to welcome y'all to DJ Surplus Studios, the #1 DJ in the solar system. If you need a DJ to rock your next party, a DJ to host your next event, rock with DJ Surplus, My 803 Hip Hop Radio, iHeartRadio DJ. Hey, let's get it, Carolina. We up right now. Fox 57, what's good? We lit!
Hey, welcome back to another edition of The Chosen One, Volume 2. I am your host, Terrence Clayton, and again, this show is dedicated to some of our educators and people who are doing big things in the local community. So it is my pleasure right now to introduce someone who, number one, holds a lot of degrees. So we can start there. Honorary Doctorate in Humanitarian Arts, Master's in Change Leadership, and a minor in human behavior. So, without further ado, I would love to introduce. I'm going to call her Doctor because when I ain't even talk about the doctor degree, right? And she has a minor in human behavior and also a registered in victim services for the state of South Carolina. So I'm going to go ahead and just introduce Dr. Juanita McDonald. How are you?
Terrence, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, what we try to do here with this particular program in conjunction with Just Because We Care is, give opportunities for leaders such as yourself in the community to come on and, just talk to the viewers about what it is you do and how you're impacting some of the underserved communities. So we can dive right into it if you want to go ahead and tell everyone the name of your organization.
It would be my pleasure. I am the executive director for our organization called Rediscover Me Women Initiative. And our mission is to engage, educate, and inspire change for which a woman or teen girl affected by abuse, trauma, and mental health can rediscover the me she strives to be. And we do it based on the 3 pillars of lost identity plus lost self-esteem equals lost purpose and direction. And our organization was unofficially established in 2016 while I was in college. And now it's officially a nonprofit. And since then, we work with numerous women and community leaders across the state of South Carolina. And that does not include our online reach with women and teen girls. And so very effective program. And since then, I've created educational plans and wrote a book called The Mental Safety Plan that is designed specifically for women as well.
So I guess my first question, and I'm sure the viewers as well would love to know, like, why do what is the passion behind dedicating so much time for this particular, for your organization?
It happened by accident, Terrence. I really went back to school after the mortgage crash so that way I could focus on, building myself up, getting back into mortgages and continuing in my financial career. But the more I worked, talked about losing everything and rebuilding my life and the changes that I was making in that situation, the more women kept coming in my class. They were cornering me in outside class. They were calling me about issues and different things they were going through. And so I really tried to run away from it, but the women kept coming to me. And so I just kind of like backed down and said, okay, Lord, if I have to do this, let me get myself together. And so I started studying everything. And it was a psychology class that opened me up to like, wow, I really love this. And so I put together a little short educational plan and tried to go from there and began working with women in numerous communities and seeing the effect of change that took place. And so many people started inboxing me and calling me, and it went from there. And so there's more so the demand that has been from outside forces than me actually saying this was my passion. And now it's like, oh, wow, I love it.
So you would say it's more of a calling at this point? Absolutely.
I know you mentioned, with women and teens as well, when they're affected by some sort of trauma or some type of abuse, whether it's, verbal or physical, and unfortunately in most instances, you mentioned about how they lose their identity and how the program actually helps them, regain that identity and actually through the title of your organization, which is rediscover themselves, rediscover the me in themselves. So is it through workshops? Is it through more of educational training? How exactly is it more of a town hall situation where you have folks come and have other leaders in the community talk to them? Like, how exactly do you get that? Do you drive the message?
It's a combination of everything that you actually shared. We do our workshops are a little bit more unique. The terminology is called kinesthetic, and that's more so where you bring the participants into the workshop, so they're actively going through simulations that help them to begin to see the wave frequencies of your mind. Basically, how do I think? What is my mental blockage? And what do I need to do in order to move forward? And so the key one that we do is called breaking down walls. And so as we are taking individuals through that, they're able to see how they freeze or how they hinder and how they're thinking about different forms of decision. So when we look at our identity, the biggest thing that we're looking at is getting the participant to begin to see how we fail to make decisions solely on who we are, but more so on our surroundings, our societal norms, or our lack thereof of understanding. Because every woman that you generally come in contact with, the biggest thing that she will tell you is that I don't know who I am. And I was that woman as well. I don't know who I am. I don't know what my purpose is on this earth. And then some will say, hey, I know what my purpose is. But when you challenge them on it, they can't even give you a simple 10-second elevator pitch. So, I've some of the greats, I've trumped them and said, okay, let me see.
It's always wonderful when someone, as yourself as an executive director of this organization, wonderful organization that you created, but you can also not just talk the talk, you've also walked it. So, kudos to you. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you any longer, but I would love for you to come back and we can talk more about the other wonderful things that your organization that you're doing in the community right now. Are there any shout outs, if you will, that you want to just send some love out to anyone right now in the organization?
Okay. Yes, you can reach me at rediscovermewi.org. That's our website. Our phone number is 803-310-3450, as well as my email, which is rediscoverme09@gmail.com.
All right, sounds good. And thank you so much for that information. We'll definitely make sure at the conclusion of the show that we put that information at the conclusion. So everyone, if you're out there right now, you missed some of that information, we'll make sure that it's on the screen for you before the show is over. So Dr. Juanita McDonald, thank you so much
for all the information, and also thank you for everything that you're doing in the community. You know, we applaud you.
Thank you so much, Terrence, for having us. Have a great evening.
Absolutely.
Talofa to all the amazing listeners. How are you doing? How are you doing? I'm Pele, Papa Pele Hunkin. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here, and I just want you to know that I'm just so happy to be here with all of you. In my Samoan language, Talofa means hello. So, Talofa to you. First, I want to give God all the honor, praise, and glory for His blessings upon us. I am humbled, honored, and truly blessed to be here with you, and I hope you're just as excited as I am. I may not know you, but I am here today to tell you that you have greatness within you, and I believe that you have something special in you. Have you ever really been inspired? You know, the kind of inspiration that gives you goosebumps. The kind of inspiration that drives you to do something great. That's what I want to do for you today with the help of God. Put a heart in that chat box if you are in it with me. I believe in my heart that you will be inspired. No, I meant Pele inspired to get back up, to fight the good fight for that awesome you after hearing how I became a warrior and survived the most unimaginable tragedies that occurred in my life. I want to share with you 3 significant, defining moments that happened in my life. Picture it. I want to take you back when I served in Talil, Iraq on February 25th, 2006. It was a steaming hot morning in Iraq, and boy, was I hot with all that gear on. When my commander informed me that my husband had been critically injured in a terrible accident in Balad, Iraq, her words felt like a sword driven into my heart. I was paralyzed as I fell to my knees, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. My world completely shattered. At that moment, shock, confusion, and fear started to overwhelm me. My beloved husband, Bini Ignacio Tabaki, was in a coma that lasted 6 months. Can you imagine 6 months of praying for a miracle? 6 months of hoping that he would wake up. And 6 months of never giving him only hope until he was called by our Heavenly Father on July 22nd, 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a defining moment of my life. When I instantly became a widow and a single parent, not to mention that I was already a full-time mother, a combat soldier in our great army serving this nation and equality. Losing the love of my life was hard. But then the most defining moment of my life, I lost my first loves. My beloved father and mother Malai and Miriam Hunkin, whom I miss and love so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the most defining moment of my life. When I became parentless, when I became that daughter without a mother and a father to call on, and when I became that daughter without a mother and a father to love on. See, life is about change, and some change requires so much. My children lost their father, their anchor, their rock. Then I lost my father, my anchor, my rock, and my mother, my comforter, my very best friend. In that moment, I had to decide to run and hide or to stand and fight. My favorite book says, having done all to stand firm. I had to stand and fight to hold my ground. Therefore, I am here today to simply share with you what I've applied in my life. I feel if you choose to use it, that it will lead to a breakthrough in your life as it has mine, and I am sure for many others, here are the 4 valuable lessons that made me a warrior. Step number 1, allowing God to be the foundation of my life was the very first thing I had to do. Type God is my foundation in that comment box. Step number 2, what is your why in life? Briefly share with me in the comment box your why in life. See, I had to look deep within my heart and soul to find that why. So as for me, my children, who are my blessings, my life, and my everything, are my absolute why in life. Step number 3, what is your purpose in life? See, my purpose in life, this is something that I am very passionate about. And that is to make a difference in people's lives today, to live the life of a warrior, and to live full and die empty.
Welcome back to The Chosen One. I'm Kenneth Brown with Just Because We Care, and I am in the studio with a phenomenal, let me say that again, a very phenomenal writer, and she goes by the name of
Latasha Reeves.
Latasha Reeves. I wanted to give a chance to the author to say her own name, but Latasha Reeves is in the studio with us, and she's going to be talking a little bit about her book as it applies to what she wants to talk about in her life experience. This is a mirror reflection. So Tasha, welcome to The Chosen One. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Wow, that is an amazing intro. Makes one kind of blush. I'm honored.
Right. Well, amazing for an amazing woman that is doing a lot of great things in the community. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, my name is Latasha Reeves. My author's name is L.C. Jones Reeves. So with that being said, I recently written my first self-published book called Mirror Imperfections.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was a personal journey from the first words to choosing the cover and then the last part, which is basically giving birth to it, and that is actually getting it published and getting it out there to everyone.
Now, as a new author, you're discovering the highs and lows of authorship. With that being said, I'm going to just ask some questions and, tell us how you really feel. Is this book, Mirror Reflection, a reflection upon you and your life?
Partially my life, but more so just the experiences that you go through, not just myself, because I don't want the book to be seen as being a woman's perspective. I want it to be seen as being for everyone with flaws, because everyone has them.
Well, I'm glad you said that. So this book is not just directed to women, it's directed to men as well, right?
Correct. It is not directed just to women. It is directed because everyone has things that go on in their lives, from finances to heartbreak to losses, and heartbreak does not always mean losses. That just means you're losing something, something's hurting, and then they go on from there.
You quoted on page 21 of the book, I read the book extensively, and on page 21, you mentioned Nikki Rowe,
yes.
One of our greatest poet laureates out there. Why Nikki Rowe?
One, of course, you already said it. She's an awesome, phenomenal author. She's a good writer. All her writing has really touched me in different ways. But that particular one that I chose, it was because it spoke about a wildflower. And like all things, wildflowers grow everywhere.
True.
They grow everywhere. So with wildflowers growing everywhere, things happen to them. As people pass through your lives, you lose them, you lose jobs, you gain people, so you have a lot of changes that go on within your life. So with the wildflower, that actual passage in there, then we choose, she states for that wildflower to pick up their head. Well, guess what? As you have had things happen in your life, sometimes you're down, you're out, things happen to you. So then now, to tell you to pick up your head, just because you're doing that, hey, you see those wildflowers down there, and they're doing exactly this.
Right.
But they are trying to get back to where they are.
Why a mirror, though? I mean, why does it have to be a mirror reflection? Why did you choose that word?
Mirror. Everybody has one. It's the one thing that can be seen as insignificant, but it has such a powerful meaning behind it, because there is a portion in my book where I write about an actual mirror, something that I did take from my own life, where I talk about a mirror. And with that mirror, it's a routine we do every day. We have our hygiene routine where we go, we brush our teeth, we wash our face, we do everything in that mirror. But do we really look at that mirror? Or are we just going through the motions every day?
So are you saying that someone who looks at the mirror every day might see a shining example of who they're best, or they're living their best life, but that person could really be a piece of human Swiss cheese? You know what I mean? Where that person is really torn up on the inside and they've got a lot of issues they're dealing with. Would you say that was a reflection of you before you wrote the book, and then after the book, it was healing for you?
Well, in writing the book, it was during the healing process. So I want to say I was cottage cheese, sliced cheese or shredded cheese. Right. What I will say is that the things that I saw within myself from the first time I looked in the mirror, thinking everything's put together, we put on our masks, we put on, as me as women, we put on our makeup. And then we put on our lotion, we put everything on, and we get all beautified through our lashes, or as nowadays they say, we get our face slayed, and we slay our own face.
Okay.
When in fact, when we take off all that we put on, there's things that we have that we're using to cover up.
Very important that you had an opportunity to express. And she is expressing herself through her work, and I want to thank her for sharing that opportunity with us today. I'm recommending that everyone go out and read this book. It's called Mirror Reflections by author Latasha Reeves, and being in the studio with us was much a pleasure. Is there anything that you want to tell our audience before we leave as to how they would be able to get in touch with you?
So you can find me, Latasha Reeves, let me spell the last name, Reaves, on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Yes, I'm on Snapchat.
Are you?
I'm on Snapchat. But on Facebook, I actually have an author's page. It's called author L.C. Jones Reeves. Jones, Jones, Reaves. There's a dash in there. You should see that come up, and you'll see my face on there. And also you can find me again on Instagram at author LC Jones Reeves. So I keep everything the same, so you can find me there.
Very good, and we want to thank you for coming and being with us on The Chosen One. Once again, this is Kenneth Brown with Just Because We Care, and we want to thank all of you for being a part of the audience tonight and having this lovely author with us. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
On behalf of Just Because We Care, I want to thank y'all for tuning into The Chosen One Volume 2. Get ready for the next episode. In the meantime, always remember, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take.
Ain't solid. Most of these niggas ain't about it. They burglary with they violence. These niggas they know they tolerance. Young niggas born with it. I remember throwing rounds in the ditch. Hood star got plenty cash. He can f around them by Hood star got plenty cash. Young like Money Mitch. SV where it started at. If talk business we can handle that. Good dope gon' handle that. How the fiends keep coming back. Showing how to ball like 2K. Don't do big cut like stay. Good fiends gotta keep cheese. I'm bacon when it come to cake. Add 2 you got cheesecake like John Mack when it come to play. They pockets on stiff they mad. But guarantee them taste so bad. Got off my everything do the dash. When you talking about cash.
Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they mad and why they hate? I don't really try. Got a lot more so they say. Show 'em how to take. Why they
Hey, what's up? It's your man Terrence. Take it from me. Looking for a new car is not always the most pleasant experience. But down at Trinity Car Sales, it's a place where buying a car is a ministry and not a hustle. They take pride in selling good vehicles at affordable prices. And I tell you what, if they don't have the vehicle you need, then they will get the vehicle that you want. And check this out. Also, they're giving away a free trip with every vehicle purchase over $3,000. So go on down to Trinity Car Sales, tell them Terrence sent you. And I guarantee you, if they don't have the car that you want, they'll get you the car that you need.
Never been. Lord, we lift you. All we gotta do is trust you. You have all power. I ain't never been. Lord, we lift you. All we gotta do is trust you. You have all power. Good. See, I'm high off life. You can do anything, just don't walk by sight. I'm in this word, trying to get my mind right. Told the world swerve, I don't really have an appetite.
It's your girl TJ. When was the last time your home had a checkup? Let me tell you about home maintenance and improvement by JQC. Listen, if you need anything taken care of in reference to your home improvement needs, they are the company to call with over 20 years experience. They are your home improvement experts. So call them today at 803-240-0085 to join the family of satisfied customers.